Let's talk about bent lamination. I've got a couple of tips for you, whether you've done it before or whether it's the first project you're attempting. I think some of these may help you, so let's get into it. Now, the last project we did, the main feature of the project was the fact that the cabinet box was arched. And so the way we accomplished that, outer carcass, was by doing bent lamination. And if you haven't seen that, we've got a full project video. I'll leave a link up here and in the description below. So the first tip I have for you is pre-bending your plies. So what do I mean by that? Why would you do it? How do you do it? If you have a pretty drastic curve, and if your plies are a little on the thicker side because you can't get them any thinner, the way I made these plies was with the planer, I'd recommend pre-bending. So what we did was I soaked all of the plies in water for about an hour, and then I bent and clamped them around the form. Let it dry for 24 hours, then take it off. So now the plies retain somewhat the shape that they will eventually be in. This helps with the glue up. This prevents cracking and splitting of the wood, especially if you got thicker plies or if you're using a wood that's more prone to splitting and cracking. I used some knotty alder for that project, and so everywhere where there's knots in the wood, the grain kind of goes all in crazy directions, and on a couple of my practice pieces, it was splitting, as I'm trying to make that bend. But soaking in the water softens those fibers, allows you to get that bent around there. You let it dry, and 24 hours later, you can glue it up, and it'll make your glue up go a lot smoother and prevent any cracking of your individual plies. Number 2, and this is something I learned the hard way, make your form solid. What I mean by that is, you can see here this is solid now, but the first form that I made, I had the 2 outer pieces, I had a center piece, that was the shape, and then between those 3 pieces were 2 voids. So I went and did the pre-bending, and I soaked the pieces in water, and I bent them around the form and set it to dry. 24 hours later, I take the pieces out of the form, and they look like this. Everywhere there was a gap, the wood had kind of sunk in just slightly, and everywhere where there was solid wood, it raised up slightly. So I had all the plies looking real wiggly, and you do not want that. So save yourself the trouble. It's more material, it's a little more time, but make your form solid. And tip number 3 would be choosing the right adhesive. Now for this project, I used Titebond Extend. If you don't know, Titebond, the regular everyday wood glue that most of you probably use, has an Extend version, which is just like it sounds. It has an extended open and working time. Now you only get about 10, 15 extra minutes. So with the glue that I used, I think it was 20 to 25 minutes of open time. That may sound like plenty, but doing a bent lamination, trust me, it's not. We barely got it assembled under that time, and I had my wife helping me. If I was doing this completely by myself, I don't think I would have been able to get it in the clamps quick enough. Now, if you're doing a shallow bend with less plies, that Titebond Extend may be just fine, but anything with a really tight radius where you got a lot of different plies, I would opt for a 2-part adhesive such as epoxy. And when I was researching what adhesive I wanted to use for this project, I also found, I wrote it down here, something called urea resin Unibond 800. Now that glue specifically was originally a temperature setting glue. So you would get things in the form and it would heat up to a certain temperature and then things would adhere. But they have made a newer version that sets at room temperature, and it has a powdered hardener that you mix in with it. Haven't used it, but that may be something to consider as well. So any 2-part adhesive that has a long open time, that way you're not stressing trying to get things into the form, into your clamps before the glue starts to set and your whole project is ruined. You don't want to go through all this work of making the form, making your plies, to then go to the assembly time and just not have enough time. And there's really no way to save that. You're starting over from the beginning at that point. So there's my 3 tips for bent laminations. And if you haven't seen the project video that we did, check it out. I'll leave a link up here and again in the description below. If you've got any other tips to leave down in the comments below, feel free to do so. Let's share some knowledge with each other. And if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe if you're not already. And we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one. Ooh.